Coronavirus is just the tip of the iceberg. The worst is coming. Hey everyone, we know recent months have been hard on millions of people around the world as the coronavirus spread, killing thousands while turning our lives upside down. But did you know that there are much greater threats to human existence than a deadly pandemic like the COVID-19? We are going to reveal to you some frightening scenarios into the future that could mean the end of human existence as we know it. In today's video, let's find out how these 7 life-threatening dangers make the coronavirus seem like just the tip of the iceberg. As we count down to number 1, we will explore unexpected threats many people never imagined existed. From technology, biology, life science, to the most spectacular Hollywood storylines that are not far-fetched from the truth. But before we dive in and look at what's underneath the water, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. Number 7. Massive human suicides because of cats? Yes. As odd as that may sound, suicides because of cats are in such a way you wouldn't believe. Have you ever heard of toxoplasmosis? It is a very common and incurable disease caused by a parasite called Toxoplasma gondii that loves nothing better than to reproduce inside cats' stomach. And here's how cats get it. Scientists discovered that this parasite infects rats in their brains and blocks their basic survival instincts such as avoiding danger. And when cats eat these rats infected with the parasite, cats now have the disease. Cat lovers who come into contact with the feces of infected feline can easily catch the parasite. Because cats are very popular pets, as much as half of the human population may be infected with this parasite. Now, if nasty parasites multiplying in your stomach isn't enough to scare the wits out of you, then listen to this. Studies have shown that the parasites can affect humans similarly as they affect rats by causing schizophrenia and suicidal behavior. In this context, if this parasite gets out of control like the coronavirus and mutated into a stronger, more aggressive strain with its effects on human brains, we would be looking at a future like the one in The Happening or The Bird Box, with millions of people jumping in front of trains or off bridges, all without Sandra Bullock to hold us by the hand. If you like things that are interestingly bizarre and strange, wait till you see what we have lined up for the rest of the list. We're just warming up. Number 6. Supervolcanoes. Some threats are classified as catastrophic events because they kill millions of people, but they don't quite pose a threat to human existence. We would ultimately survive. Supervolcanoes, on the other hand, are at a whole different level. There are approximately 20 supervolcanoes around the world, spread across all continents, from North to South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. These volcanoes are so massive that if any one of them were to erupt, it would send out a cloud of debris and poisonous volcanic ash that would stay in the atmosphere for years. Besides destroying everything around it, this would cause havoc in air transportation and satellite communications and our ability to breathe. In case you're wondering, no, N95 masks won't work here. Although this sounds horrible, that's not the worst of it. The biggest problem is the light-colored ashes that reflect the sunlight in, leading us into a volcanic winter. This would ultimately turn into the next ice age and wipe us all out. Now that's a time bomb ticking away, and it takes just one supervolcano to do the deed, all in a matter of seconds. Number 5. Death of the bees. This could seem like nirvana for those of you who are allergic, but bees are among the most important insects to mankind. Can you guess why? Yes, pollination. Plants need insects and birds to carry their pollen from one plant to another in order to bear fruit and to reproduce. But how does that affect us? Simple answer is because our body needs more than just meat. We need food crops to survive, and bees are responsible for pollinizing more than half of all food crops in the world. If bees were to suddenly disappear, a global famine of biblical proportions is a guaranteed scenario. One that will bring not just millions, but billions of deaths with hunger, wars, and destruction. The scary part is, this isn't just a science fiction anymore, but a real threat mankind faces today. bees are already dying from climate change, pollution, and habitat destruction. Yet, the worst comes from the human use of insecticides, posing even greater threats to bees' survival. It ultimately creates a negative cycle that can get out of control quickly. As insecticides kill bees, fewer bees means less pollination, which leads to dying plants and flowers, and in turn even less pollen for the remaining bees. And no bees, no crops. No crops, no food. Think about that for a minute next time you feel like swatting a little yellow and black Jerry Seinfeld on your kitchen table. Coming up next, major threats from Hollywood, technology, and biochemistry. Hit the likes and get ready. Number 4. Carbon-hungry nanotech. Here is taking Hollywood work of fiction and applying science to it. Nanotechnology is the manipulation of matter on an atomic, molecular, and supramolecular scale. Nano is 1/billionth of a unit measurement. It is so tiny that it's impossible for the naked eyes to see. Nanotechnology is extremely useful for many different practices in manufacturing, medical surgeries and drugs, space exploration, and more. It allows scientists and inventors to go places where we have never gone before. But in order to be able to use it, for example, a nano-sized engine, we will have to build it first. Building the first one of these engines, while delicate, time-consuming, and costly, is not at all impossible. But making only one such engine would be pointless, so we need to make many, say millions of these nano engines. But it is completely inefficient to try making these little engines one at a time. So the whole theory of nanotechnology today is based on self-replication. This means that the little engine should be able to make copies of themselves if they are to be useful in any way. Picture this: little engines making the other new engines all at the same time, duplicating themselves. That requires a lot of resources and materials for these little engines to do their job. These materials are mainly carbon compounds, which can be found pretty much anywhere on Earth. The big problem with self-replication is that if it becomes unstoppable, it'll keep going and going until it consumes all available resources, and some scientists believe that the problem can get out of control and become so bad that it would end up eating all the world's biomass, us humans included. If that's not a horrible fate, I don't know what is. Number 3. Killer AI. A typical Terminator-like future could be in store with our advances in artificial intelligence, otherwise known as AI. Of course, it doesn't have to be T-2000s traveling back in time or other over-imaginative sci-fi drama, but the technology behind Skynet is already in place. AI and machine learning took a giant leap forward in 2016 when the artificial intelligence software AlphaGo defeated an 18 times world champion at a strategic Chinese board game called Go. The appearance of what many described as creativity left many people both bedazzled and worried. But why? It's because that little bit of software learned in only a couple of days on its own to play a strategic board game humans have been playing for 3,000 years and beat the best of us at it. The danger is that through machine learning, the program evolves and becomes ever more intelligent so quickly that it ends up turning into something even its creators don't fully understand. This can have a detrimental self-feeding effect. If the program gets smarter every time, it can reprogram itself to become a better learner, and therefore learns even faster and becomes smarter. It won't be long before it reaches a point when humans will no longer be able to control it, or have the slightest clue what the machine is thinking and plotting. That much power, if left unchecked, can lead to the computer software ultimately taking over full control of our information technology, which the world today is built on. Whenever that happens, we can only hope it doesn't see us as a threat. Imagine for a minute losing control of all communication satellites in space, nuclear missiles, the internet, global financial information systems, and everything else. The worst part is that it's not just a centralized piece of software, but one that's distributed in the cloud, so the only way to kill it will be to shut down the whole system and pull the plug. Number 2. Superbugs. I know what you're thinking. Superbugs? Really? Is this some sort of Ant-Man sequel? Well, we're actually talking about bacteria. Common yet deadly bacteria that we've known for decades to have killed millions of people. But how? The thing about bacteria is that they multiply very quickly, and fast reproduction leads to mutations. These mutant bacteria then develop a superpower-like resistance to antibiotic. All the other bacteria die, but the mutants survive the antibiotic. When these mutants start to multiply, the only way to kill them is to use a different antibiotic. The problem is that among the millions of new mutants, some will have mutated again and will survive this new antibiotic. This cycle continues up to a point where there are no new antibiotics capable of killing the new generations, and a new strain of superbacteria is born. If you thought that a deadly viral pandemic was bad, that's a small issue compared to what antibiotic-resistant bacteria is already doing to the global population. Estimates from the CDC project that by 2050, more than 10 million people will die every year of presently treatable diseases like some types of pneumonia, common diarrhea-causing infections, and STDs like gonorrhea. And there you were, thinking that deadly diarrheas were only a problem for undeveloped countries. And now, number 1. We are 2 degrees Celsius away from destruction. We've all seen what happens in the movies. Powerful superstorms and baseball-size hail. Mega tsunamis that swallow multiple towns in a matter of seconds. Fused hurricanes that destroy entire islands and devastate more than just the coastline communities. Tornadoes that make F5s seem like small ceiling fans in the living room. Will cities like Shanghai, New York, Venice, and Buenos Aires, once home to millions of people, turn into scuba diving landmarks to explore undersea one day? It's the stuff nightmares are made of, yet most of us are so numbed by Hollywood's blockbusters that we rarely sit down to think about the seriousness of human pollution and global warming. Some shrug it off as a future generation's problem. Some say we just happen to live in a time when Earth goes through its cycles of weather patterns. Many scientists today agree that it'll only take an extra 2 degrees Celsius to reach the tipping point for irreversible climate change. It all goes downhill from there, a cascade effect of chain reactions in an unstoppable vicious cycle that gets bigger and more severe. No one really knows exactly how devastating it'll be, but one thing is for sure, that millions upon millions will die and vast portions of landmass will become uninhabitable as sea levels rise. All this in a world that's already struggling to cope with the population growth. There you have it. As you can see, there are far worse things than staying at home during a pandemic. Which one do you think is the most plausible in the short or long term? Leave your comments down below and join the discussion. Thanks for watching.